David, Pompeo's tweet followed something along similar lines by the National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, John Bolton.
That's right, John Bolton, quick to weigh in. And now we've also had Mike Pence, the Vice President, expressing very similar sentiments, using a lot of this language about restoring freedom and democracy to Venezuela. Pence also using some Spanish in his tweet. When you put those alongside Senator Marco Rubio, a Republican who's also been very outspoken on this issue, who's also chipping in, I think it just shows the Trump administration and Republican backers really have a very firm line on this, and they have from the start. Very insistent on the need for Juan Guaido to take office. They argue that is a constitutional necessity. They're expressing support for the army to back the National Assembly and the Constitution on that. It's been interesting for foreign policy watchers in Washington that this is one case where the Trump administration is taking firm sides and not backing a strong man, as Trump is often accused of doing in other parts of the world. They've said no measures are off the table. I think they'll probably wait to see how this plays out within the context of diplomatic pressure and sanctions they've already imposed on Venezuela's oil industry.
Yeah, the contrast is stark with neighboring Mexico, whose president Andres Manuel López Obrador staged a press conference earlier in which he said he believed in non-intervention and dialogue when it came to Venezuela. And I guess the question where you are is just how far is the U.S. Willing to push regime change?
Indeed, and that's against a backdrop of a very long and checkered history, of course, of U.S. intervention in Latin America. I think even some supporters of Guaido in Venezuela are somewhat wary of getting the U.S. Too involved. They have memories of what's happened in Cuba, in Chile, in other countries going back decades. As you can imagine, the administration has been questioned frequently how far they're willing to go. They've been unwilling to say that they take military intervention off the table, but there's also been no real sign of that happening. Complicating the picture, of course, has been some Russian involvement in Venezuela. That has naturally gone down badly. Even Trump has spoken about the need for Russia to get out, and it's been a sharp focus because this is, of course, the United States' own backyard, and going all the way back to the Monroe Doctrine, there is a sense of they do not like foreign interference in their own hemisphere. But for now, I think they'll welcome today's events as perhaps a sign that a light touch can prevail, and perhaps forces on the ground will reach their own conclusion without the need of a stronger U.S. intervention.
Yeah, just David, I'm curious because with Trump every day owning the news cycle, how much play are the developments in Caracas getting in the U.S. media this Tuesday?
They are getting some coverage. You're right; it's a constant battle for international news, international affairs to muscle into that cable news cycle now. Not only against Trump and his statements and tweets, but also the gathering pace of the Democratic primary for the 2020 election. But even so, I think right now this story does have drama and vivid pictures from the streets of Caracas. So that always helps with cable news coverage. Similarly, as we saw with the Notre Dame Cathedral fire in Paris, that also was, if you like, telegenic. So it's certainly getting some play, but I think we also know it's only a matter of time before Donald Trump probably speaks or tweets about some other subject, and perhaps we move on rather hastily again.
All right, David Smith in Washington.